everyone, welcome back to Relax with Animal Facts. I am Steph Wolf, and today I am going to be learning with you about our furry, scaly, or possibly even slimy friends. And in today's case, it is definitely going to be a furry friend of ours because we are covering the oh-so-wonderful donkey. This, of course, is a very special listener episode dedicated to Tina, Gary, and Ira. Thank you for taking the time to request this magnificent creature, and I look forward to learning about them with you. If you have an animal request of your own, you can send it in by going to relaxwithanimalfacts.com and going to the Animal Request tab. We just built a brand new website, and so you can go check it out there. Now, some of you long-term listeners may notice that my voice sounds perhaps a little more crisp. I have decided once again to upgrade some of the hardware, including a new microphone, a little soundproofed space, because I want to give you the best quality episodes that I can. Now, this is the season finale of season 6. Normally, seasons are 25 episodes long, and this is indeed the 25th episode. Normally, after a season end, there will be a 2 to 3 week break in order to make some changes to the show, to the way it's run, collecting feedback. I will still be doing all of that, but there will be no break between now and the next episode. That is because there was a 2-week break from between now and the last episode, and so you can all expect a new episode next week and for the regular schedule to continue. If you don't already follow the Instagram Relax with Animal Facts, I encourage you to do so because on the next episode we are going to be going over a Q&A and some feedback for the show. And so to contribute to that, I'm going to be doing all of that polling and stuff like that on that Instagram. If you would like more Relax with Animal Facts and the ability to vote on new episodes once a month, you can do so by going to patreon.com/relaxwithanimalfacts. There has been a hiatus over the past 2 weeks, but we are returning to a normal uploading schedule now. The wildlife ambiance used in this episode is courtesy of George Vlad. I have left his YouTube and his website in the description below, and I encourage all of you to go check him out. And now we are going to begin to wind down a little bit. If you are a new listener, just know that the intros are not usually this long, but I welcome you, and I welcome you with open arms. If you are a long-time listener, you know what I am going to be asking of you. I have 3 primary exhortations. My first encouragement to you is that you put on your favorite pair of running shoes. We are going to be needing those for where we are going today. And my second exhortation is that you notice perhaps where you are carrying some tension. It can be quite a challenge to relax when we are stiff as a board, and so dealing with that first is helpful. If you are unsure where you carry your tension, sometimes it is in the shoulders, the neck, the arms, the legs. You can just start from the bottom of your feet and kind of mentally scan to the top of your head. And whenever you find something that you are clenching, you just simply try to relax. You can even bring up some jello in your mind. It can be whatever color you want, or flavor rather. If you like strawberry jello, try your best to imitate red jello, and simply give your Oscar award-winning impression of it. And the third thing I encourage you to do is to give your mind permission to wander and journey with me into a desert in northern Africa, where the donkey resides. Like I always mention, our world is a very musical place. It is difficult to find a single square inch of this planet in which there is not something chirping, in which there is not something blowing in the breeze. And here, in a habitat of the wild donkey, the instruments here are primarily wind and percussion. The millions of granules of sand dip and tumble over one another, being blown by the breeze, and it makes for a very subtle but relaxing kind of environment. We could have been in a variety of places around the world, perhaps in Morocco or Somalia, in the Arabian Peninsula, and in the Middle East. There is even one kind of donkey known as the kiang, and it is found in China, northern parts of Pakistan, India, Nepal, and Bhutan, making the donkey a fairly adaptable creature. But keep in mind that donkeys are a domesticated animal, and so where we are today is mostly where the wild donkeys are found, but domestic donkeys are found all over the world. Given their reputations of being vehicles of modest and reliable transportation, they are creatures that are desired all around the world. These are members of the Equidae family. This family includes other familiar species like horses and zebras, but the donkeys are different in the fact that they have long, floppy ears and will tend to be more compact and stocky in comparison to zebras or horses. They are called a beast of burden. This basically means a creature that carries loads. We have attestation of their close companionship with humans reaching back 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. Now, as we always do on the show, we first cover animals in general before going into their subspecies or their specific species. There are a wide variation of donkeys that will result in different colorations, different sizes, and of course different habitats and locations. There is a Sicilian donkey, for example, that weighs from between 250 to 400 pounds, 113 to 181 kilograms, but compare that to the average-sized American mammoth jackstock donkey. Now that's a name. This specific donkey will weigh 1,200 pounds on average, about 544 kilograms. Frequently, donkeys will be found in parts of the world where horses have trouble surviving. Donkeys are a little bit more adaptable to their environments, or perhaps a little bit more rugged or rough around the edges. But here on Relax with Animal Facts, you all know that I love those creatures that are the most ordinary. We root for the proverbial little guys of the animal kingdom. As people, we are often drawn to the exotic or the extravagant. It seems to me a human curse is that we take those things which are most ordinary, most common, and we take those things for granted. We love that which is new, desiring to replace the old, but yet look at the humble donkey, perhaps a true definition of man's best friend by means of helping people travel for thousands of years, being our riding partners through deserts and savannas, through thick and thin, and as we'll learn, they have some special characteristics that perhaps you never knew. You may have also heard the donkey being referred to as a burro. Now, normally, burro is pronounced with rolling R's, as it is a Spanish word. For risk of perhaps waking people up, I will not roll my R's. But even in the southwestern United States, the term burro is widely used and interchangeable with donkey. The three main kinds of donkeys are wild, feral, and domesticated. We are dealing with the wild donkeys today. In this part of the world, it can get quite hot, and donkeys will normally rest during that time. They will mostly be active during the early mornings and the evenings, in which they graze and travel around with their herd. Donkeys are grazers, which means that they typically enjoy eating grass. They also like to eat shrubs and other desert plants, but they have an interesting, or maybe unintuitive for us, way of eating grass. They do not tear it with their teeth, but rather will grab with their very dexterous lips and pull the grass into their mouth. And once that grass is in their mouth, they will then chew and rip it apart with their flat teeth, grinding it down for swallowing. And a donkey will do this over and over again, ultimately pulling out with their lips as much as 6,000 pounds of food per year, about 2,700 kilograms. In the case of feral donkeys that are almost nomadic creatures, in the case that they move around, They will traverse various habitats. It can be of concern to the environment as they can just travel through and take food from local animals. But that is not as much the case for the wild donkeys. And many people know the donkey for their characteristic vocalization. What other animal sounds like a donkey? The scientific term for their specific sound is braying. The reason that donkeys sound different from horses and zebras, even though they look quite a bit alike, is because donkeys have a specialized ability to vocalize while they inhale and while they exhale. The sound that they make, if we were to, let's use the word translated into English, is hee-haw. The first part of that vocalization, the he, they will make during inhalation, and the haw they will make during their exhalation. So as they draw a breath in, they will let out their he, and as they breathe out, they will let out that haw. How often they do this braying and the specific duration of the braying will actually differ from individual to individual. It may also be used as a means by which to discern individuals in a group. The donkey is a very social animal. Perhaps this is one of the characteristics that made them such a good companion for us in history. They form very deep bonds with one another or with other animals that perhaps they are sharing their grazing with. Scientists have actually named the close bonds between two donkeys, and that is called pair bonds. There is relatively abundant research that proves the legitimacy of these pair bonds, and in showcasing their legitimacy, if somebody was to separate a pair of bonded donkeys, it could have negative effects on both of them, including things like loss of appetite, stress, and pining behaviors. These things are reminiscent in experiencing loss for us. Being separated from loved ones for us is stressful, and it is for the donkeys as well. This is why for those who have domesticated donkeys, they are often advised to take two rather than just one. They are the happiest when they are with friends. You may have heard the phrase stubborn as a mule, and as is often the case for these phrases, there is a reason why this is a thing. Donkeys are known particularly for being obstinate, stubborn creatures. If they don't want to move, they simply won't. They will plant their feet, stand their ground, and it doesn't matter how much a handler pulls. They will simply sit there, or rather stand there. And this is perhaps on behalf of the frustrated handlers. Donkeys have sometimes been called dumb for this behavior. But in fact, this behavior is one more of intelligence. They have a very intuitive understanding of self-preservation. Many creatures, when they feel that they are in danger, they will opt to run away. Some animals are faster than others, but this seems to be a very visceral, intuitive response. The donkey, on the other hand, will simply stand their ground. If they feel something is wrong, they will just stand and wait to see what happens. It is like for us when we sit and wait to make a decision, because perhaps in the case of a donkey, it is moving forward towards an ambush of a predator. So rather than rush and brush it off, they will be patient or perhaps from our view, stubborn. This is a huge contrast to their friends, the horses. When horses are scared, they can take off, and boy, you cannot stop them. It is amazing to me how animals that look quite similar can be so different. Now, one physical characteristic that we covered earlier on in the show are those large, floppy ears. Their ears will grant them an astute sense of hearing, which is used to hear other members of their herd, and also to hear perhaps approaching predators. But another use of their ears is actually heat dissipation. Here in the desert or in the savannas of Africa, it can of course get very hot. And what helps with heat dissipation is a larger surface area. It helps the donkey to expel out the heat that they have on the inside at a high rate in order to stay chilly. With a larger surface area, it means there is more opportunity for heat to escape. Now I think maybe in the new season it would be great to cover a story, a true story about a creature that we are covering. And so let's cover a true story about a donkey in history. In the First World War, which took place from between 1914 to 1918, the British Army promoted a donkey to the rank of sergeant. This donkey was named Jimmy, and Jimmy was born actually in the trenches of the battlefield. The troops of the Cameronian Scottish Rifles actually raised this donkey, feeding him condensed milk and rations. They even taught Jimmy how to salute by raising one of his hooves. He would join the soldiers in hauling their supplies and raising their spirits. There was even a monument that was put up in his commemoration, and it is mainly in his function of keeping up the British soldiers' spirits that earned him his stripes. I like to imagine that there was perhaps a new recruit to this particular section of the British Army that was told to report to Sergeant Jimmy. That is awesome. Another interesting fact about donkeys is the presence of so many different hybrid creatures. They are not exactly the most discerning as to who they breed with during mating season, and so you have creatures like mules, hinnies, John mules, mollies. You have zebra hinnies, zebrets, zebroids, zebras, zedonks. These are mixes of horses and donkeys and zebras. And now let us move on to the name. What does donkey mean, or where does it come from? The word donkey has been used since 1785 and was originally used as slang coming from an uncertain origin. Some say that perhaps it is from an Old English word or a Middle English word, or some etymologists speculate that the word donkey comes from the proper name Duncan when it was applied to an animal. Etymology sometimes is not a straight line, and it is like trying to connect a web from all over the place. And so in this case, we do not know for sure. And the charity of this episode is thedonkeysanctuary.org. This is, like the URL suggests, a donkey sanctuary in the UK. They are basically champions for the quality of life in donkeys worldwide and, of course, in the United Kingdom. They provide for them with shelter and food and all of the rest, and you can even go to their website and adopt a donkey if you so choose. That link is in the description, and if you want to help support some donkeys, that's where you can go. And before we move on to the review of the episode, let's just do the dad joke now. This is the third installment of this new tradition of ours to tell a joke, and I have to say that I am enjoying it so far. I think this is my favorite one. What's the hardest key to turn? A donkey. When I first read this, I actually burst out laughing. What a beautifully crafted dad joke. And now that your day is ruined, let us move on to the review of the show. This review was written by Aurora, who wrote all the way from the United States of America. And Aurora writes, I needed a break for my brain. Work was stressful. School was stressful. When I didn't do anything, then I started thinking about all the things I had to do. My brain was a mess. This helped me relax and stop thinking about so much stuff. It doesn't hurt that your voice is so calming. It's like giving a hug to my brain, LOL. And a bonus was that it reminded me of my little brother who lives in another state because of how much he likes animals. Very amazing. Thank you, Aurora, for that very kind review. I am so glad that the show can be of help to you. And like I said to one of you over email or over Instagram, if you are in school or school and work, I am right there alongside you. I also, as I record these episodes, am under a mountain of my own schoolwork, and so we are all in this together. If the show helps you at all, leaving a review like Aurora did is one of the biggest things that you can do. We actually just passed 500 reviews total on Apple Podcasts, and for that, I thank all of you. As this is the end of Season 6, I can't tell you how grateful I am to be hosting this podcast and how your listenership really does mean the world. The podcast may not be number one on all the global charts, but I can say with confidence that as far as my audience is concerned, I am convinced that our show has the best listeners. And slowly, we're still working on the website. I would like to have more of a community thing with you all, with your drawings and your art pieces. So many of you out there are creative and have shared with me your drawings. And so when that comes, I will let all of you know. If you have a particular animal that you would love to learn about, you can request it by going to relaxwithanimalfacts.com and clicking on the Animal Request tab. If you would like to reach out to me for any other reason, which I greatly encourage you to do, you can send an email to relaxwithanimalfacts@gmail.com or by going to Relax with Animal Facts on Instagram. If you would like more Relax with Animal Facts and to help support the show, you can go to patreon.com/relaxwithanimalfacts. For about 3 cents a day, you can get access to tons of exclusive content that's already out and opportunities to vote on new episodes once a month. I made the Patreon as accessible as I possibly could so that all of you could vote on new episodes. So I look forward to seeing you there. A huge shout out to George Vlad for the ambiance used in this episode. Again, his stuff is linked in the description and I encourage you to check him out. The resources used in this episode come from livescience.com, treehugger.com, britannica.com, etimonline.com, and militaryhistorynow.com. All of those links are in the description. This episode would not have been possible without these resources. What an amazing creature we have learned about today, the modest donkey. I think a creature that is right next to the dog in terms of being our best friend, at least in a historical sense. I hope you have all enjoyed this episode as much as I have, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode with the next animal. Take care.